Thank you for joining us for part 3 of this video series where we look at celebrities' final last words. Don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on the post notifications for this channel. On the morning of July 27, 2003, 2 months after his 100th birthday, Hope died of pneumonia at his home in Toluca Lake, California. His grandson Zach Hope told Soledad O'Brien that when asked on his deathbed where he wanted to be buried, Hope had told his wife, "Surprise me," and those were supposedly his last words. He was interred in the Bob Hope Memorial Garden at San Fernando Mission Cemetery in Los Angeles, joined in 2011 by wife Dolores when she died 4 months after her 102nd birthday. After his death, newspaper cartoonists worldwide paid tribute to his work for the USO or featured Bing Crosby, who died in 1977, welcoming Hope into heaven. With a career spanning nearly 80 years, Hope appeared in over 70 films and shorts, including a series of road movies, also starring Bing Crosby and Dorothy Lamour. In addition to hosting the Academy Awards 19 times, which is more than any other host, he appeared in many stage productions and television roles and was the author of 14 books. The song, Thanks for the Memory, is widely regarded as Hope's signature tune. Walt Disney's last words were, Kurt Russell. The famed animator supposedly wrote the actor's name on a slip of paper just before he died. Even Russell, who was 15 when Disney died, isn't sure why or if it's even true. Disney had been a heavy smoker since World War I. He did not use cigarettes with filters and had smoked a pipe as a young man. In November 1966, he was diagnosed with lung cancer and treated with cobalt therapy. On November 30th, he felt unwell and was taken to St. Joseph Hospital, where on December 15th, 10 days after his 65th birthday, he died of circulatory collapse caused by lung cancer. Disney's remains were cremated 2 days later, and his ashes interred at the Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California. His estate included a 14% holding in Walt Disney Productions, worth $20 million. He left 45% of his estate to his wife and children, much in a family trust, and 10% to his sister, nieces, and nephews. The remaining 45% went into a charitable trust, 95% of which was designated for CalArts to build a new campus, a figure of around $15 million. He also donated 38 acres of the Golden Oaks Ranch in Valencia for construction of that school. The university moved there in November 1971. On December 23, 2006, American singer James Brown became very ill and arrived at his dentist's office in Atlanta, Georgia, several hours later than his appointment for dental implant work. During that visit, Brown's dentist observed that Brown looked very bad, weak, and dazed. Instead of performing the dental work, the dentist advised Brown to see a doctor right away about his medical condition. His last words were, "I'm going away tonight." Brown recorded 16 singles that reached number 1 on the Billboard R&B charts. He also holds the record for the most singles listed on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, which did not reach number 1. Brown has received honors from many institutions, including inductions into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Songwriters Hall of Fame. In Joel Whitburn's analysis of the Billboard R&B charts from 1942 to 2010, James Brown is ranked as number 1 in the top 500 artists. He is ranked 7th on the music magazine Rolling Stone's list of its 100 greatest artists of all time. Rolling Stone has also cited Brown as the most sampled artist of all time. Although the details of rock musician Jimi Hendrix's last day and death are widely disputed, he spent much of September 17, 1970 in London with his girlfriend, Monica Denman, the only witness to his final hours. Denman said she prepared a meal for him at her apartment in the Summerland Hotel, 22 Lansdowne Crescent, Notting Hill, sometime around 11 p.m, when they shared a bottle of wine. She then drove Hendrix to the residence of an acquaintance at approximately 1:45 a.m, where he remained for about an hour before she picked him up and drove them back to her flat at 3 a.m. Denman said they talked around 7 a.m. when they went to sleep. His last words were, "I need help bad, man." She awoke around 11 a.m. and found Hendrix breathing, but unconscious and unresponsive. She called for an ambulance at 11:18 a.m. They arrived on the scene at 11:27 a.m. Paramedics then transported Hendrix to St. Mary's Abbott's Hospital, where Dr. John Bannister pronounced him dead at 12:45 p.m. on September 18, 1970. Beatles musician George Harrison's last words were, "Love one another." There was something in the way George moved us. He was certainly the quietest Beatle by nature, and perhaps the most peaceful in other ways too. Of course, it makes complete sense that such a serene individual might find the simplest and most touching message with which to bid us farewell. Harrison had bravely battled cancer for some years and chose these words with which to depart for that all too early date with inspiration. In 1997, Harrison was diagnosed with throat cancer and treated with radiotherapy, which was thought at the time to be successful. He publicly blamed years of smoking for the illness. In May 2001, it was revealed that he had undergone an operation to remove a cancerous growth from one of his lungs, and in July, it was reported that he was being treated for a brain tumor at a clinic in Switzerland. In November 2001, he began radiotherapy at Staten Island University Hospital in New York City for non-small cell lung cancer that had spread to his brain. On 29 November 2001, Harrison died at a friend's home in Los Angeles, aged 58. Music composer Ludwig van Beethoven's final words were, "Friends applaud, the comedy is over." Some reports say Beethoven, who was deaf by the end of life, said, "I will hear in heaven," while others suggest he said, "Plaudite, amici, commedia finita est." Applaud, friends, the comedy is finished. But still, others say that after a publisher brought the composer 12 bottles of wine, his final words were, "Pity, pity, too late." Beethoven was bedridden for most of his remaining months, and many friends came to visit. He died on 26 March 1827 at the age of 56 during a thunderstorm. His friend, Anselm Hüttbrenner, who was present at the time, said that there was a peal of thunder at the moment of death. An autopsy revealed significant liver damage, which may have been due to heavy alcohol consumption. It also revealed considerable dilation of the auditory and other related nerves. On October 3, 1849, American writer Edgar Allan Poe was found delirious on the streets of Baltimore, in great distress and in need of immediate assistance. That was according to his physician Joseph Walker, who found him. He was taken to the Washington Medical College, where he died on Sunday, October 7, 1849, at 5 in the morning. Poe was never coherent long enough to explain how he came to be in his dire condition, and oddly, was wearing clothes that were not his own. He is said to have repeatedly called out the name Reynolds on the night before his death, though it is unclear to whom he was referring. Some sources say that Poe's final words were, "Lord, help my poor soul." All medical records have been lost, including his death certificate. Newspapers at the time reported Poe's death as congestion of the brain or cerebral inflammation. These are common euphemisms for deaths from disreputable causes such as alcoholism. The actual cause of death remains a mystery. Speculation has included delirium tremens, heart disease, epilepsy, syphilis, meningeal inflammation, cholera, and rabies. Cornell was an American musician, singer, and a songwriter. He was best known as the lead vocalist for the rock bands Soundgarden and Audioslave. Cornell was also known for his numerous solo works and soundtrack contributions since 1991, and as the founder and frontman for Temple of the Dog. Cornell is considered one of the chief architects of the 1990s grunge movement and is well known for his extensive catalog as a songwriter, his nearly 4-octave vocal range, and his powerful vocal belting technique. Around 12:15 a.m. on 18th May 2017, Cornell was found dead by his bodyguard in the bathroom of his hotel room at the MGM Grand in Detroit after performing at a show with Soundgarden at the Fox Theater on May 17th. He was lying on the floor with an exercise band around his neck and blood in his mouth. Police ruled out homicide by reviewing hotel surveillance video, which showed nobody entering or exiting the suite after his bodyguard left at around 11:35 p.m. The cause of death was determined to be suicide by hanging. According to his wife Vicky Cornell, Chris was groggy and just kept saying, "I'm just tired," and hung up the phone. These were his last known words. Italian artist Leonardo da Vinci was also overly modest, saying, "I have offended God and mankind because my work did not reach the quality it should have. I guess the Mona Lisa isn't good enough." Leonardo died at Clos on 2nd May 1519. Francis I had become a very close friend of him. Vasari records that the king held Leonardo's head in his arms as he died. Although this story, beloved by the French and portrayed in romantic paintings by Ingres, Menagot, and other French artists, as well as Angelica Kauffman, may be legend rather than fact, many historians and scholars regard Leonardo as the prime exemplar of the universal genius or Renaissance man, an individual of unquenchable curiosity and feverishly intensive imagination. According to art historian Helen Gardner, the scope and depth of his interest were without precedent in recorded history, and his mind and personality seem to us superhuman, while the man himself mysterious and remote. American founder and inventor Benjamin Franklin lay dying at the age of 84. His daughter told him to change position in bed so he could breathe more easily. Franklin's last words were, "A dying man can do nothing easy." Franklin struggled with obesity through his middle-aged and later years, which resulted in multiple health problems, particularly gout, which worsened as he aged. In poor health during the signing of the US Constitution in 1787, he was rarely seen in public from then until his death. Benjamin Franklin died from pleuritic attack at his home in Philadelphia on April 17, 1790, at the age of 84. Approximately 20,000 people attended his funeral. He was interred in Christ Church Burial Ground in Philadelphia. A signer of both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, Franklin is considered one of the founding fathers of the United States. His pervasive influence in the early history of the nation has led to his being jokingly called the only president of the United States who was never president of the United States. Former football player and coach Vince Lombardi died of cancer in 1970. As he died, Lombardi turned to his wife Mary and said, "Happy anniversary, I love you." As early as 1967, Lombardi had suffered from digestive tract problems, and he had refused his doctor's request for him to undergo a proctoscopic exam. On June 24, 1970, Lombardi was admitted to Georgetown University Hospital, and tests revealed anaplastic carcinoma in the rectal area of his colon, a fast-growing malignant cancer in which the cells barely resemble their normal appearance. On July 27th, Lombardi was readmitted to Georgetown, and exploratory surgery found that the cancer was terminal. Lombardi, with Mary at his side, received family, friends, clergy, players, and former players at his hospital bedside. He received a phone call from President Nixon telling Lombardi that all of America was behind him, to which Lombardi replied that he will never give up his fight against his illness. On his deathbed, Lombardi told Father Tim that he was not afraid to die, but that he had regretted he could not have accomplished more in his life. French philosopher Nostradamus predicted, "Tomorrow at sunrise, I shall no longer be here." He was right. The next morning, he was reportedly found dead, lying on the floor next to his bed and a bench. He was buried in the local Franciscan chapel in Salon, part of it now incorporated into the restaurant La Broche, but reinterred during the French Revolution in the Collège Saint-Laurent, where his tomb remains to this day. He is best known for his book, Les Prophéties, the first edition of which appeared in 1555. Since the publication of this book, which has rarely been out of print since his death, Nostradamus has attracted a following that, along with much of the popular press, credits him with predicting many major world events. Most academic sources maintain that the associations made between world events and Nostradamus' quatrains are largely the results of misinterpretations or mistranslations, sometimes deliberate, or else are so tenuous as to render them useless as evidence of any genuine predictive power. Closing our list for the part 3 of this video series is American actor John Wayne. The actor's final words before his death were said to his wife, "Of course I know who you are. You are my girl. I love you." Although he enrolled in a cancer vaccine study in an attempt to ward off the disease, Wayne died of stomach cancer on June 11, 1979 at the UCLA Medical Center and was interred in the Pacific View Memorial Park Cemetery in Corona Del Mar, Newport Beach. According to his son Patrick and his grandson Matthew Munoz, a priest in the California Diocese of Orange, he converted to Roman Catholicism shortly before his death. He requested that his tombstone read "Feo fuerte y formal," a Spanish epitaph Wayne described as meaning ugly, strong, and dignified. The grave, which went unmarked for 20 years, is now marked with a quotation from his controversial 1971 Playboy interview. "Tomorrow is the most important thing in my life. Coming to us at midnight very clean. It's perfect when it arrives, and it puts itself in our hands. It hopes we've learned something from yesterday." Check out our last part of this video series. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment below.